Like that.
You have a limited amount of time with this person. They should be treasured.
Let me play my part.
Check 2, hey.
Like, is that real? Did that happen? Like,
The structure of your brain actually changes.
and do you still feel that every day?
And then it got time for guitars.
Eating disorder, like
I didn't want to die,
tendencies.
but I didn't want to live either.
Helpless little girl.
You gotta go in the hospital.
You feel powerless because
The body has a fear reaction.
The opportunity to empower.
No one can take away my power.
I won't take myself out.
Artists that are true like that, those are the ones that tend to create change.
For people like that, it's going to be really powerful.
for sure.
So, I think I'd like to back up and I think it's fascinating the way we met.
Oh, yeah.
It's kind of weird, right?
Uh-huh,
So
yeah.
Kel had passed, and I'll do like a formal introduction. We'll get into your background and your professional everything. But we're here with Carmen Berzinski. This is Field Audio. We're at the University of Wisconsin La Crosse. Just found a corner to have this podcast. It's beautiful outside. If it was summer, I think we'd just be strolling.
For sure.
So it was, God, what year was it? We were shooting the documentary. I was preparing for the documentary. And then you just like somehow found me on Facebook, right? And said, I've got some, I said, you're Kel's
Yeah.
wife. I just found out what happened.
Yeah.
Do you remember how it went down?
Yeah. Well, how I actually came about it is that I had looked for Kelly on like social media off and on over the years and never found her. And then, so I had actually taken some of my old home VHS tapes and wanted to convert them to DVD. And so I had taken them to a gentleman and he had converted them, and one of them was actually Kelly singing.
Yeah,
That's
that
how
was
that all
interesting. Yeah. So, yeah, to be like, it was a year after she had passed, and to have someone just come out of the woodwork. I guess it makes sense for it to happen now and then, but I thought it was pretty cool for someone to come out of the woodwork and be like, I've got what probably is the first recording of her singing.
Yeah.
In any serious way. You know, I'm sure there's kid
Right.
stuff of just parties and things, but
For sure.
and then to have that sent to me and get to see she
Right.
had her little rock star haircut, remember? It was
shaved
super long,
side.
but the sides were shaved,
Yeah.
cut under. And she
Had the
had like a
shaved
skater
sides
look
and the
going.
underneath hair gone. That's what we did at that time. That's how you did that.
She could sing.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So you guys were young troublemakers,
Yep, we met in inpatient treatment.
met in rehab.
Yep, in Chippewa Falls, Wisconsin.
Yeah, so it's fitting that I don't know if close to Chippewa Falls. For how close I live to Wisconsin, I was just telling Carmen how embarrassed I am that, like, I don't know La Crosse from Milwaukee. I don't
Right.
know shit. It's like someone saying, you're in Minneapolis. Is that, so can we just meet in Duluth? No, we can't, you idiot. Chippewa, well, where is that?
It's
is it
past
still
Eau
open?
Claire a little bit. No, it's tore
Past Eau
down
Claire.
now.
That place is gone.
Yeah, the place where we were at was tore down.
Otherwise, I'd drive out there and maybe just like,
I know,
it would be
it's
cool to
not
just
there
stand there
anymore.
for a minute.
Years ago, I can't remember how long we drove through there for something, and yep, it was gone.
I'm one of those old people that's complaining about buildings that no longer exist.
Yeah.
When I was young, I would think what a curiosity my my grandparents were for giving directions, referring to things that are no longer there.
Landmarks,
You know,
right?
meet at the old hardware store. Well,
Right.
there's a Walgreens. It was Tom's Hardware for 50 years. Like,
Right.
do I have to explain this to you? Like, and now I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
remember where Guitar Center was? I'm like this old person talking about things that aren't there anymore. No, the old Guitar Center.
Oh, that is too funny. Yeah, it was like a massive apartment complex. Like, it was the most interesting place. I didn't understand it when I got there. I thought I was going to be in some, like, locked facility or,
Yeah, like
you know,
rehab
but
was
it was-
basically like jail
right.
for druggies,
Mhm,
right?
Right.
But it wasn't. What was it like?
There was, like, apartments. It was an apartment building with, like, a massive room, like a gathering room and a kitchen, and then, there was different inlets of apartments.
Mm-hmm.
You just didn't have, like, a locked door on your apartment. So her and I met through somebody that had been at the treatment center for a while. She came over to visit this person, and then like, oh my God, you guys are so similar. You need to meet, you know, all that stuff. And,
You were into music, right?
yeah. I actually used to do music. Like, I learned how to play the guitar, the piano, different things. So, yeah, we both like music, and we both like the same kind of music.
Was she, obviously, if she was 18 and fresh out of rehab, and I know at that time period she was like literally just starting to deal with knowing some things that had taken place
Right.
and getting that knowledge for the first time.
Yeah.
So I can't imagine the psychological burden on her at that time, you know.
Right, and then not wanting to go home and not knowing where to go
And just the pain of just being in Wisconsin for any reason.
right?
Okay, so I'm putting my own wife's history together just right here in front of the entire world. No, I mean, I know some of this stuff.
Yeah.
But it warms my heart a little bit to know that she had at least a few people she could talk to about it. Because even today, it's 20 years later. Heck, Jesus, 25 years later.
Yeah.
And it's still hard. Like, I interview people just in the last few months who are like, what I'm about to tell you, I've never said to anyone before. And I'm
Right.
like, you don't have to. It's up to you. And they're like,
Right.
no, I'm ready.
Yeah,
So I think 25 years ago,
know.
it was even worse.
right.
I got to look up the history, but I think that I saw that there wasn't such diagnosis as PTSD until the 80s. I'd have to look it up because
Probably.
I don't want to put any false information out there,
Right.
but it's just the concept of it is still very new. It's within my lifetime. So there she is. It's 1993. She's got her grunge look going. She knows she's got a talent. She knows she can play, but she's trying to put her mind back together.
Yeah.
So what was that like for you, going through whatever you were going through, whatever you feel like sharing is up to
Oh,
you.
sure.
And then also being a friend to her.
Well, I was kind of at the point, I had done enough, let's say, messing up or fucking up or making mistakes. I was just glad that finally somebody made me do something different. Because at that point, you almost feel like you don't know how to stop or you don't know what to do differently. So you just keep doing what you're doing because you don't know anything different. So when I went to treatment, I was actually like ready, but I was still one of them like angsty, you know, it was like late teens for
You were
me
young.
because I was a couple years younger than Kelly. So I was angsty and didn't want to follow rules. So I ended up staying at this treatment center for 9 months because,
You were grateful for help, but not that grateful.
right. I was like, I'm so glad I don't have to anymore, but wait, let me figure out how far I can actually like break the rules.
How much ready to rebuild their personality as any 17-year-old or
Yes.
whatever you were.
So
Like,
yeah,
that's-
so then I kept getting treated like a, you know, I was like 12 because they'd take my stereo away because I would play my music too loud, or Kelly would get me in trouble because we'd be jamming out or playing music too loud, and they come up and now you guys got to take a break from each other because you
Yes.
just spend too much time together.
It's just a little sense of continuity in my life to know she was always in trouble somewhere for music being too loud. Because I remember the last band practice I remember her ever having, she was in a horrible mood. And everything was crumbling around her. She was getting sicker and sicker, and no one knew yet. She didn't know yet. And so that was starting to crash down around her. And I remember one of her guitar players goes, "How long are we playing tonight?" And she just scowled and said, "Till the cops come." And now this is your memory of her. Yes.
Oh yeah.
What did you guys listen to?
I think the first way we figured it out was like 9 Inch Nails.
That
So
works.
I only had owned a couple of CDs left at that point because I had probably pawned them or sold them or forgot them or lost them or broke them.
Right.
So yeah, 9 Inch Nails, Pretty Hate Machine, and Ani DeFranco, Live, Alice in Chains, Soundgarden, that sort of stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
Not much has changed.
Nope. Tool, of course.
So you guys
They were
were...
just starting.
Oh, were they? 93?
I think so, like getting to be known, like mainstreamer,
Yeah.
more mainstream. That wasn't a word, I made that up. That was a Minnesota word, sorry.
More mainstream?
Mainstreamer.
Mainstreamer than they were before. It's a spectrum. So you were going through certain things, and you said you're glad to be in treatment.
Yeah.
And she was just on the tail end of it. Do you remember her attitude towards it herself? Like, was she? I mean, she's always
She really
rebellious.
wanted it. She was, scared at the time, though. Didn't know quite what to do about it. So, but we had fun. That was really important, is that they always wanted you to have fun. They didn't want you to always take it so seriously.
The people who ran that place?
Yes.
Oh, it seems kind of progressive, right?
Yeah. So
That's kind of cool.
you know, we would meet up at like meetings, or they would let us go places, or you know, when you got to a certain point at being in this treatment center, you could just go out, like leave.
Oh.
And, you know, so we would go playing music, or go to a meeting, or go have coffee, or go do something silly, or whatever. So, but yeah, we got in trouble a couple of times for breaking rules, of course. So then they would tell me I couldn't talk to her,
Jesus, that's your punishment. No more Kelly.
right? So then I would get in trouble because I'd keep trying to find ways to talk to her.
Was she sober?
Yeah.
Or was it a struggle?
No, she was sober. She had relapsed, I guess, once before I got there, because she had been there for a little while.
I saw
like,
you.
had used again.
She did some stupid shit at that time period.
yeah.
Like she was on some real stuff.
Yeah.
Because I knew when we were together, she wasn't, obviously, I don't do that. I've never been on anything
Yeah.
of any kind. And I don't really live in that world. But to know that she had known that and knew what all that stuff felt kind of freaked me out.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like someone said E, and she knew that stood for ecstasy, and that
Right.
pissed me off. I was
Yeah.
like, what kind of person knows that? Never say that again. That's Raquel. That shit will kill you. And she was like, oh, baby, you're so innocent. We're
Yeah.
good for each other.
Right, for
Because
sure.
I'm sheltered, but
For
I don't.
sure.
I don't do that shit.
Right.
And I don't think people trying to put their mind back together. I find it hard enough in a clear head to do so. I
Absolutely.
can understand a short-term escape, but in the end, it's just more bullshit, right?
Yeah.
And now you're an addiction counselor.
Mm-hmm.
So
And
I know
more.
I fast forwarded a little bit.
Okay.
But I'm curious, like, okay, well, we'll go backwards for a little longer because I'm
Okay.
still interested in, like,
Sure.
what she said to me was, I said, the stuff you are on is like people spend their whole lives trying to stay off of that, try to stay clean from that. Like, why are you so casual about? You used to be on this and you've never thought about it again since. You don't seem like you have cravings. You don't strike me as a drug addict. Like I don't
Yeah.
still today think of her that way, even though I know she
Right.
went to rehab. Then she said, the addiction, like, that's really got me is the eating disorder. That's what really, really has me by the throat. And as soon as I had my memories, as soon as I knew what had happened to me, I realized that if I just was in a cycle of using and going to drug rehab the rest of my life on and off, I'd be hiding from what I really know.
Yeah.
And I have to go get this eating disorder taken care of and
Right.
figure out what am I going to do about it now.
Right.
And I would say she spent the rest of her life in that battle.
Well, the approach that we take, I guess, like comparatively, you know, they don't provide treatment the way that they used to provide treatment years ago. There's no way that you could go, like I said, I was there for 9 months. There's no way that would happen anymore. Insurance companies won't pay. State funding isn't available for that sort of stuff anymore like it used to be.
Wow.
So it was, you know, it was pretty comprehensive, right? Like, so I had used a little bit after that. Like I'd stayed sober for a while. And actually, you know, Kelly and I had stayed connected for a period of time after we were both done. And she went back to the cities and I went back home. We would stay connected. She would come visit me and I would go visit her, sort of stuff. And then my mom actually passed away when I was 19. And so that's kind of how we fell off. Like we sort of started to lose contact after that because I went down, you know, a rabbit hole of crazy depression and different things.
And you went to your normal vices?
No,
at that time,
at
or
that
no?
point, no, I was sober. I had been about a year sober. And
God, that's tough.
yeah, that's kind of how we ended up falling off. And I hadn't known, so just I guess a little bit. I don't know if I ever told you this part that I just remembered. So a while ago, while she was actually going through the cancer treatments, I didn't know this, right?
2015.
Right. So I had sent her a message on LinkedIn because I had found a profile because I somehow, like I said, I tried to like find her because we were like, you know, connected. But my name had changed and all kinds of stuff because I got married like younger. So I sent her a message and she actually sent me a message back.
2015?
Yeah.
So you did know she was sick?
I didn't know that.
You
though.
didn't know?
So here's why. In 2015, because I didn't know what way she went. I didn't know if it got, like, the using had gotten worse. I didn't know.
Oh, okay.
So, you know, I sent a message, something to the effect of, you know, holy crap, I finally found you, whatever, you know. is this, this Kelly or whatever? And she responded with, tell me a story because I'm not quite sure who you are, right? And so then I'm like, oh no, did she go back to using?
Tell me a story.
But then finding out that it was actually because of cancer treatment.
Chemo brain?
Yeah.
Oh, I see what you're saying. So
Yeah.
she was in the middle of, like, maybe, do you know what month it was? Because I have that time period pretty memorized.
I could look if
Well,
you
she
wanted me
start-
to while we keep talking.
I mean, it's not the end of the world. By April, she was definitely in chemo, and by May, she could barely walk. And then she spent most of that summer trying to walk again, and then passed in August. And the last chemo was the
Right.
day before her birthday. Round 6 was July 2nd. So if you had caught her in the early summer or midsummer, she had had a lot of chemo by
Right.
then.
And I never sent her a message back because I'm like, oh,
Oh, you didn't respond?
right. Because I thought it was because of her using. I didn't know that it wasn't that.
And
right?
now you
'Cause
look
just of
back
our
and you're like,
experience.
oh, God, that's
Right.
why she didn't,
Yeah.
she had such a weird answer.
And that's why I took it hard
oh, I'm
when
sorry
I first
about
got a
that.
hold of you, because
Well, I
I'm
mean,
like,
you-
oh my God, I fucked up. I was so like, why didn't I just say something back?
Yeah, when we first met, you were all about like I should have tried harder to stay in touch.
Right.
I feel so guilty now. You just never know
Yeah.
how much time anyone has, and now I feel horrible. I was like,
Mm-hmm.
don't blame yourself. You can't expect everyone you've ever cared about to tip over dead at 40 years old.
Right,
You can't hate yourself over this.
right. No, I get that, but it was just one of those, gut wrenching, like, oh, I can't believe I did that,
Yeah. Well, have you let go of a little of that regret in the
Yeah.
last couple of years?
Yep, I don't have any cell phone service here.
So that's your background with her, music,
Mm-hmm.
trying to get better, doing bad things,
And she,
a little bit of everything.
when I graduated from treatment, she sang at my treatment graduation, and
Was that recording you gave me?
Mm-hmm.
Aww.
Mhm.
The song you guys wrote together.
yeah,
It's pretty sweet.
and then she sang that Lenny Kravitz song.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Better than him.
Mm-hmm.
I like her voice. So did she strike you as far as her personality at the time? I'm curious how much of a person is just who they are and it's always the same, and how
Yeah.
much a person grows. Did she have that internal will that this isn't going to hold me down? I'm going to get through this somehow.
Oh yeah,
That strength.
yeah.
You recognized it.
Oh, for sure. We were both like that.
Did you see her as someone that you know is going to get clean and go out and do something?
I knew she was going to do something, but I also knew that music world wasn't going to be easy,
To be clean and
Yeah.
yeah.
So I didn't know for sure how that would go for her.
She's
but-
also not a person who looked around and tried to fit in with whatever anyone
No,
was doing. Once
for
she
sure.
made up her mind, she couldn't care
Right.
less. You know,
Yeah.
she didn't care what everyone
No.
else was doing. I see that hasn't changed.
No, that was always the same. That's why we always got in trouble. F the system stuff.
Fuck the system. Do you know she's not a person who can be told what to do?
No.
Take it from her wife. We didn't tell each other what to do. That's why we got
Right,
along. We
for
didn't
sure.
infantilize
You
each
were
other at
like,
all.
Yeah.
She didn't tell me what to do. She didn't why do you keep your shoes over there and put, blah, 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 the dishes. We just, all this bullshit you hear about married couples.
Right.
It's not us at all.
Yeah.
I don't know what everyone's yelling at each other for.
Right.
Just, you have a limited amount of time with this person. They should be treasured.
Mm-hmm. And if you can't, then it's time to allow somebody else to.
I like that.
Yeah.
So she got her memories. And then you guys lost contact. But while you guys were hanging out, do you have any sense of what that was like for her? I'm not sure.
She would go into what they would call flashbacks. Sort of like almost like it was like a disassociation. She would sort of she would disassociate and kind of go into these tremors and go away and not remember what she just did or remember where she went, sort of stuff.
Did
would
she ever
just
look
come
around
back
and
and-
look like, how did I get here? Like she was walking?
No, it wouldn't sort of happen when she was walking, but not using drugs anymore to cope, right? It's sort of going to have things just come out, whether you want them or not. And that's one thing where I feel like she wasn't getting help in Chippewa Falls because I didn't feel like there was somebody that was like necessarily, me being 15 years old or 16 years old is thinking, you need help somewhere else.
Did they have so let's talk about what treatment really is.
Yeah.
Because there's this, I think of it as like an estuary where there's drugs, there's trauma, there's all this stuff going on.
Right.
Not every drug addict has a horrible traumatic background. Not every drug addict is going to fall into a flashback. Not everyone with drug addiction has an eating disorder, but there's this estuary where those three things swirl around together. And that was where Kel was at that time. Did the treatment that she was getting, because first you made it sound like it was way better because the money hadn't gotten into the system the way it has now.
Yeah.
But now you're saying
To treat the
Was there a
addiction
trauma track
aspect of it? No.
there was nothing, they didn't understand
No,
what she
it
was
was-
carrying.
No, it was, if I can recall in my memory, obviously that far back, there was just people who treated the addiction there. No, but there wasn't, the term dual diagnosis hadn't happened yet. Everybody was
Really?
under the belief that, you treated the addiction and then like later on got like therapy for like, the other stuff, your mental health, whatever, they didn't really address that. They attempted to address it through step work, which wasn't
What does that mean?
like 12-step, like AA
Oh,
or
sorry.
NA or
Okay.
So, and that didn't really work because there's a certain step that actually re-traumatizes a person when they're going through the process of like getting clean and stuff. And so they suggest, like guidelines is, wait a whole year before you do that step. But most of the time, treatment centers try to push you through it. So,
Step 8?
I don't know, 4.
Oh, Jesus, yeah, that'll hit you.
So,
You can spend years on that one.
right. So, and that one ends up sending people out to relapse, too.
Because they have to really, really...
Yeah,
You're going to make me write this shit down?
right.
Okay.
So
I
they
know
sort of
people who've gone through and read
re-traumatized you
notebooks.
in that way.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and the other thing about it is, they did a good job at like teaching you different ways of coping and like being around people and what it was like to live without being around drugs or, stuff like that. Like we would have groups but the individual counseling wasn't necessarily about anything other than like how to stay sober or why you used or, things like that. But then there wasn't, from my memory, that doesn't mean that it was real, that they didn't really work on the other aspects of like, because, using drugs is a symptom.
Yeah.
Using drugs isn't the problem. It's just a symptom. Acting out an eating disordered behavior is a symptom. It's not a problem, but we treat it as a problem in like
Yeah.
culture.
I see that a lot. Well, you and I have a lot of similar opinions about what could maybe improve about the eating disorder space. Well,
Right.
now that we're into this stuff, I know we're going to keep bouncing back in time, back and forth, but why don't we give like your full professional background now?
Sure.
So I say a lot of things interchangeably that aren't correct, like counselor and therapist and clinical psychologist and this and that. Can you lay it out for me?
I will try, even though I don't know.
Okay, so
So-
you're one of the ones who went the positive way, and now you
Yeah.
help other people.
Right.
That's why you're on the show.
Right. So I call myself a clinical therapist.
See,
I don't
that
know.
wasn't
That
even on
could
my
be
list. I don't
right.
even know what that
I
means.
could be a clinical social worker. I could be a counselor. I could be a mental health therapist. I could be a therapist. I mean,
You have the education to call yourself all those
words are.
things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We don't really. I don't know. I maybe counselor was a thing if you were like a bachelor's or something. I don't know, but I have a master's degree now, so I don't know if that's what qualifies me as getting to call myself a therapist. And I'm in the field, so that's my answer. I don't know for sure. But yeah, when I was 25, I went back to school and got my bachelor's degree. Got a job working in an inpatient treatment center. Got experience, got addiction counselor license. That's where the counselor part would come in. I think they just use it as status words. So
So I don't have to feel like I'm misusing a phrase?
No.
All right. Well, I feel less dumb already.
right. So a psychologist is a person who gets a PhD in psychology.
Oh, so you are not a clinical psychologist?
No.
Psychologist is PhD automatically.
Right.
So if someone's a master's degree and they say, well, I'm a psychologist, I can say, you're full of shit.
If they have a PhD.
If they have a master's only.
Right. if they have a master's
I'm going to
only.
use this to take people down.
I have a
helpful.
master's in clinical social work. So that's where I identify. The other world I don't really know a whole lot about. I got my bachelor's in psychology. So I got a bachelor's of science in psychology and decided to go on to get my master's in social work instead.
Okay, so that's your background.
Yep.
Now, I want to talk about what's gotten better about treatment and what's gotten worse and how it's changed over time. But first, I want to go back to what you were just saying, because we were kind of getting into it there with like, so you're a friend of hers. You don't have the education yet. You're staying clean yourself.
Yeah.
You know she's been through something. I don't know what she told you or what you feel comfortable saying. But you knew that she had had something and that she was just now learning it.
Right.
Like, even I mean, you're a smart person. Even when you were young, I'm guessing you went, oh, this is where the using is coming from.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Did you notice she didn't fucking eat?
Oh, yeah.
Did everyone say to her, like, what was it like for her at that time period? No one talked about it like they do now, right? What do you think it was like for her at that
So
age?
I didn't get to see, like, I knew there was, we knew there was an eating issue, but I never got to directly experience the extent of it because I wasn't in treatment with her.
Yeah. Just hanging out. Did you ever
So-
notice, like, you wanted Taco Bell and she never fucking did? I'm just a day in the
Right?
life.
No, yeah.
This is.
I'm
this is
trying
what
to
it's like.
recall. Honestly, I don't remember eating myself.
No wonder you guys got along.
Because, I mean, I was used to using drugs.
Does that take away your appetite?
Yeah.
I know there's the stereotype of the, rail thin junkie and whatever.
Right.
So
Yeah.
that's just kind of true. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah. So I don't remember
Another reason why
wanting to
she'd
eat a
like
whole
hanging
lot.
out with
Yeah.
people like that, because they're not going to pressure her
Right.
to eat.
Yeah. I never
remember, like,
I never
begging her
once
to have-
got on her about eating.
Never.
Yeah. That never happened between her and I.
But it wasn't a concern of
But it
yours
was
either.
somebody, like, my counselor at the treatment center was actually her counselor when she was there, and I would notice her saying things to her about it, and I would ask, like, what was, the lady's name was Carol, what was Carol saying to you? And, she would be like, well, and then Carol would be like, you guys won't need to eat something. I'm like, okay.
You didn't take it seriously, like this is a life-threatening eating disorder.
Well, I had no
You
idea.
didn't know.
Right.
What was Cal's opinion of it? Did she understand yet
No.
at that age that this can kill me?
No, you don't think that when you're that young, no.
Wow.
Yeah.
You just get your comfort wherever you find it. You don't judge. This is getting me through.
Yeah.
I can picture her just saying, like, it's not me that has something wrong. Just food is disgusting.
Mm-hmm.
Why doesn't anyone like it? I just am so curious because my first day with her that we really hung out an entire day at her house was Sunday, August 12th, 2012. I remember it because it was our first hug because I'm a fucking smooth criminal.
Yeah.
And that's how I roll. No, we did have our first hug that day. And I was waiting for her to get hungry because I'm not like
You're
you two.
like,
And I was waiting for her to offer me something to eat because I'd been in her house all day.
Yeah.
And I was like, she's got to have lunch at some point.
Right.
I hadn't had lunch, and I got over there at like 2 p.m. I was already kind of hungry for maybe a late lunch. It's 5, it's 6, it's 7. And I'm like, does this person get hungry? Like, I'm not going to leave because I like her and I want to see whatever I want to see. Mm-hmm. See, I mean, I didn't really think I had any chances, but if this is my only day I'm ever spending with this person, she's going to have to throw me out the front door.
Right.
And so I'm hanging out, we're talking about music and just life and everything, and I'm like, is she going to get hungry? Like, what the fuck is going on here?
Right.
And she had said, what did she say to me? She said, I put alarms on my phone to remind me of when people eat because there's a disconnect between my brain and my stomach. I don't experience hunger. Mm-hmm. And I was like, oh. And I thought nothing of it. I was like, okay, well, is the alarm going to fucking go off? Because I could use a burger.
Right.
No, I was like, well, when does the alarm go off? Because I'm
Right.
hungry. In my head, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
I think I just said, oh.
Get the music behind the mission. Hate Becoming by Kelly Nicole on iTunes and Spotify.
If you guys haven't checked out the merch table,
Join the movement.
buy the album.
Get your Kelly Nicole band merch and donate what you can at kellynicolefoundation.org.
Courage is from Amplified!